Picture this. You push open the heavy wooden door of a tiny, one-room farmhouse, and bam, it hits you. A massive wave of sensory overload. The space isn't just full, it is absolutely packed to the brim. Right away, you hear babies screaming at the absolute top of their lungs. You sit down at the breakfast table, and immediately you feel kids kicking your knees underneath. This isn't just a bad morning, you know? This is the daily, inescapable reality for a woman named Rebecca. And Rebecca isn't just sharing this single room with, say, a husband and a kid. Oh no, she's sharing it with her 3 sisters and their 3 husbands and all of their many, many children. The sheer volume is relentless. Every single morning kicks off with the piercing, sharp cries of infants. Breakfast? Well, that's basically a hazard zone of flying food and this endless, chaotic laughter from the kids. The husbands are yelling just to be heard over the racket, and somehow her sisters are even louder. The room is literally boiling over with sound and movement every single second.
So naturally, she desperately looks for an escape route. Any escape. Out in the yard, the privy is the only place on the entire property with a door she can actually close. But the smell... It is so terribly foul in there that she just can't hide inside for very long. She's caught in this awful trap, right? Oscillating back and forth between the overwhelming, deafening noise of our family inside and the completely unbearable odor of the privy outside.
It leaves her with this profound, heavy exhaustion. She actually cries out that there is simply no peace to be had, anywhere. But there is one other place she can try to go: the temple. It quickly becomes her only true refuge from that cramped little farmhouse. She starts spending a lot of time there, just sitting quietly in the wooden pews. And that is exactly where she's found by Rabbi Catz, this old, kind man with a big salt and pepper beard. He notices her dark, heavy mood, and he asks what could possibly be wrong.
Rebecca just pours it all out. The pure exhaustion, the screaming babies, the kicking kids, the absolute lack of an inch of personal space. The rabbi, he just listens. He thinks long and he thinks hard, slowly stroking that bushy salt and pepper beard of his. And then suddenly he leaps up. Aha! He asks her if her family owns any animals. They do, actually. A goat, a cow, and a goose. And that's when he delivers a truly bizarre command. He tells her that this evening she must bring the goat inside the house to live with them. She just blinks at him, total disbelief. Bring the goat inside, into the single room that is already literally overflowing with sisters, husbands, and children? But, you know, she trusts the rabbi. So as the sun starts to set, she walks back to the tiny farmhouse. The noise is already spilling right out of the windows. She walks over and untethers the goat. What exactly is going to happen when she opens that front door and drags a farm animal right into that boiling chaos?
Well, the very second the goat's hooves cross the threshold, the room instantly smells like a barn. And the noise level, it actually goes up. The goat's sharp bleating cuts right over the screaming babies. Total physical chaos erupts. The goat lowers its horns, charges, and headbutts one of her sisters, which of course sends the kids into absolute fits of laughter. And later, when night finally falls and Rebecca tries to get just a single moment of sleep in the dark, she feels a sharp tug. The goat is literally eating the blanket right off her back. By the very next morning, a completely frantic, totally sleep-deprived Rebecca rushes straight back to the temple. The rabbi's idea was a massive failure. She lists out every single detail for him: the barn smell, the deafening bleating, the headbutting, the eaten blanket. The house, she insists, feels even smaller than ever before. The rabbi listens very closely to this completely disastrous report. He drifts off in thought, he strokes his beard, he scratches his curls, and then boom, he leaps up once again. He has another instruction ready for her, and somehow it is even more shocking than the first one. He looks right into her eyes and says, "Move the cow inside too." Move the cow inside. A second massive farm animal. Rebecca's eyes just go completely wide. She has to somehow squeeze a full-grown cow into that exact same solitary room, the one already packed with adults, screaming kids, and a destructive blanket-eating goat. But she nods. She trudges back home to do exactly what she was told. The sheer physical mass of the cow changes the entire dynamic. It is so big that it immediately crashes right into the furniture, completely knocking over the main table. Napkins are flying everywhere, plates shatter across the floor, and while the food is lying there in the dirt, the goat starts eating the actual broken plates themselves.
One of the husbands steps in, trying to physically shove the massive cow out of the way and gets kicked. A sister reaches out to grab the goat and gets bitten. It's just a tornado of mooing, bleeding, crashing wood, and laughing kids. So the next morning, Rebecca slumps heavily into the wooden pew at the temple. Her eyes are entirely dark, heavily shadowed with just complete, utter exhaustion. She's so entirely drained that she yawns out loud right in front of the rabbi, blushing bright red as she scrambles to cover her mouth. The night was completely unbearable. The rabbi nods. He acknowledges that balancing a home, well, it's a tricky thing. But he assures her he has already worked out a marvelous solution to fix this terrible situation. He begs her to do just one more thing. Just take the final animal, the goose, and move it inside the house too. Night after night, the pressure in that house just keeps escalating. Rebecca sighs, she cries, she yawns. But once again, she nods. She heads back to her overflowing tiny little farmhouse, grabs the goose right out of the yard, and carries it inside, just desperately, desperately hoping for the best. And what happens? The goose immediately bites a baby. The baby, not backing down, bites the goose right back. The goat rears up on its hind legs and headbutts the massive cow. Someone knocks over a heavy pail, and one of her sisters slips and goes crashing right into a puddle of spilled milk. The air is so incredibly thick with the sharp smell of a barn, the goat bleeding, the cow mooing, and the goose just honking and honking and honking.
Come morning, Rebecca is half frantic and half asleep. She doesn't even wait for the rabbi to finish asking how the night went. She stands right in front of him, physically panting, her words just spilling out in this frantic rush as she recounts the biting, the slipping on milk, the endless honking. She begs him, absolutely miserable, for no more animals. The house is smaller than it has literally ever been.
The rabbi gently brings her over to a pew. He sits them both down. He nods very slowly, his hand gently stroking his salt and pepper beard once again. He tells her he hears her complaints. He really does. And then he delivers his final plan. Put all of the animals back in the yard.
Rebecca stops cold. She just blinks at him. Back outside? All of them? The rabbi confirms it. Send the goat, the cow, and the goose straight back out into the yard. She is completely confused by this whole instruction, but she doesn't question it. That evening, as the sun goes down over the packed little house, she opens the heavy front doors and quietly ushers all the livestock back out into the cool night air. The next morning arrives, and the contrast in that room is absolute. That immediate, deafening layer of animal noise, it has completely vanished. There's no sharp bleating cutting right through the room. There's no heavy, vibrating mooing shaking the wooden walls. There's no relentless echoing honking bouncing off the ceiling. Rebecca just stands there in her single-room farmhouse. She takes a long, slow, very deep breath. Nobody is slipping in a puddle of spilled milk. No farm animal is headbutting her sisters. No one is getting bitten. And as she goes to sleep, there is no goat there to eat the blanket right off her back. She returns to the temple one last time. She breathes in the quiet air and makes a very simple observation about that solitary room, still packed with her sisters, husbands, and all those many children. The exact same room she started in. The house, she notices, has never felt bigger.